Hey everybody, welcome to the second day of the draft, this is its second year now being this way. It's not all one long shot. We have a second run at this thing, and after jumping on late at night, I can't remember what time it was, onto the Raptors show to talk about Colin Murray Boyles. Blake is returning the favor to hop over here. The last time we talked for the public was probably, what was it, like the Brandon Ingram stuff, where
Yeah,
you were able to tell everybody how everything was working, the money problems and everything, and provide your insights. You're here once again. Blake Murphy, how you doing?
good, man. I'm a little disappointed that you've gone full shiny up top because
Mm-hmm.
in honor of draft night, I have multiple hats with me. I was ready to try and match with you because obviously you have a lot of baseball hats. So I had a Giants one ready. Look, there you go. And then if you had gone another route, I got Dodgers sitting beside me too. I'm ready to get traded. I'm ready to match up. Let's go.
Hell yeah. I guess first thing we'll start is for people who didn't listen to the Raptor show. Presumably, since we're over here, they probably would have heard what I thought about CMB because I would been loud and annoying about it. Colin Murray Boyles, what did you think about the Raptors pick at number 9?
Yeah, a guy I really like. I think kind of, I'd done some podcasts and some hits leading into the draft, and my main talking point with him was love the prospect, very me style prospect, big defense everywhere guy, some connector skills offensively, can't shoot. Obviously I joke sometimes that we all like to find prospects who we think we're like, like, oh yeah, can't shoot, but does some smart guy stuff. Tries really hard. So love the prospect. Didn't know about the fit with Toronto. Obviously, historically, I've been a take the best talent over the fit guy, but I had Malawatch kind of in the same tier with Murray Boyle. So I thought all else equal at that point when they were both on the board, that Kamon Malawatch could be the pick. As I understand it, that's kind of what it came down to for them as well. I don't know if there are other names in the mix, but I know that that was not an easy decision between those two. But love it, man. It's been fun to dig in on his defensive tape. Like I said, I like a lot of the connector skills offensively, some of the passing stuff, the short roll potential there, even how he fits maybe as a smallish 5 with the second unit, doing some of the DHO delay stuff. I think I'm maybe like a little less optimistic than you about some of the individual scoring stuff in the handle, but for the most part, pretty happy. Really, really, really fun defensive prospect.
We have a Zach Pop mention in chat for
Oh
what
my
it's worth.
God.
Blue Jays, we have Jays Talk Plus and Laura in here. But also, you mentioned, kind of poking around. If you have had any conversations with like the Raptors side of things, I know there's obviously the public stuff, but what was your, I guess, read on it from the point of view of like asking around and hearing things?
Yeah, it's a little awkward for me now doing the draft because obviously I am full-time Jays during the offseason, so I wasn't, I'm not
Hmm.
there. They also don't make the draft workouts public
Yeah.
anymore, which they used to do, which was really valuable for those purposes. But I had heard a little bit of stuff throughout the process. One of the things I'd heard about Malawatch, for example, is really charismatic kid. We know that they value the interview process, how you treat people, and things like that. He was pretty impressive in that regard. Noah Senge, who came over for kind of a last-minute workout after his overseas session, that was same kind of thing. And then CMB, yeah, I think he spoke their language in terms of, look, at the number 9 pick, this is hopefully your last time in the lottery. You still need to swing for upside. You got to take the guy who you think is going to be the best guy. Maybe not maybe not the absolute best 100th percentile outcome, but the guy that you think is going to be best over the next 3, 4, 5 years. And, that Murray Boyles speaking like a guy who understands what his path to that is and what his path to being a meaningful player on a winning team is, I think spoke their language.
Did you think that it was all reminiscent? Because when I was doing the work in the lead up to this and championing, like, I really like Colin Murray Boyles, everybody got like, people did not like him as a prospect for the Raptors, whether or not that
Yeah,
was
okay, for
fit
the Raptors, yeah.
concerns. Yeah, for the Raptors, whether that's fit concerns or whether that's just kind of not being sold on a guy without a jump shot, especially from downtown. Did it remind you at all when everybody jumped down your like got on your case about the Scotty thing?
Yeah, and like it's funny, like obviously the conversation around Scotty Barnes as like a leader and a personality is kind of, it went down for a little bit and now it's kind
Hmm.
of come back around. But one of the reasons I was confident mocking him at number 4 to the Raptors at that time was like I'd heard like such good things about like the personality and culture fit and stuff. And I don't want to like over index to that stuff, but I think when players are like fairly equal talent wise, that's a meaningful thing for them. So it reminded me of that in a little bit of a way. Yeah, I think, and I asked you this on the Raptors show when you came on with me last night. I wonder if, let's say there was kind of a skill or role redundancy, or and maybe not even a skill redundancy, a weakness overlap where you're kind of you're layering on the same weaknesses on your roster. Had it been a different type of thing of skill, would Raptors fans feel the same way? If they drafted Jeremiah Fears, would everyone be like, well, now you have two undersized point guards who, you know, are relying on XYZ with Quickly and Fears, not entirely similar players, but to make the undersized comp, you know, would that have been the same conversation if, you know, if they drafted another kind of off-ball movement shooter who isn't good defensively? Would people have worried about the skill overlap with Grady Dick? Maybe a little bit, but I don't think it would be as extreme as it was with Colin Murray-Boyles, because Colin Murray-Boyles is like a prospect type that they have tried a bunch of times already and tried with success. By the way, like the book on Colin Murray-Boyles as a college prospect was like fairly similar to OG. His, even some of the like the individual creation stuff is like way more advanced than OG's was at that point. OG was probably a better defensive prospect, which is crazy to think about. But OG also, like, nobody thought he could shoot. There wasn't a lot of sample of it. The shot looked ugly. But there's been him. Pascal had some of the same kind of weaknesses initially. They have taken flyers in free agency on Rondé and Stanley Johnson and, you know, Jonathan Mobo last year. Again, not similar player, but similar kind of, well, what they need this thing to get to the next level. So I wonder if it was a different type of different style of player, if maybe the reaction wouldn't be the same with respect to like, oh, there's overlap, there's redundancy, or you already tried this.
Yeah, I think it is probably that, and also because the Raptors have been a poor shooting team for so long that people are just really leery of that. Sev in chat says Pascal shot 15 threes in his 2 years at New Mexico State for 17%. On top of that, though, what made Pascal so interesting and what nobody talked about was he was one of the highest volume mid-range shooters in the NCAA before getting drafted. Interesting. Rasheer Fleming, who I liked a lot, actually just got drafted to the Suns at 31. The pick is in from Minnesota. And for anybody who was wondering what I was referencing with Blake, when he was running at the Athletic, they did their big mock draft, and he selected for the Raptors at 4, chose against the consensus at the time, Scotty Barnes, and everyone called him a dumbass.
One of my least favorite comment sections of all time.
Yeah, that one aged pretty well for you, though. Although Suggs is fun in his own way, and
also to be clear, a mock draft is not who I would pick; it's who I think they'll pick. Because I love Jalen Suggs too. That's in retrospect, that's going to be a really good draft class in retrospect. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and the guys have developed differently than people thought too, and I mean Trey Murphy jumping into it as well. You got Şengün in the back there too. There's lots of really fun guys. Yeah, Franz. Franz is a bit bigger than CMB, and I wonder if CMB might study some Franz tape. Just in that, you know how he kind of slaloms down the lane.
Yeah.
CMB is a little bit more direct, as you told me last night. But I guess to the point of last night, you asked me to present some options for the Raptors at 39. I got to swing it back to you. Who do you like? Is there anybody?
Yeah, it's yeah, there are some guys I like. There are enough guys that, like, I'm saying this, what is it, 822, only the 31st pick is in. I wouldn't be all that surprised if they trade out. There are like cap and tax reasons we could talk about later to keep the pick, and obviously you'd always rather your choice of a guy versus competing on undrafted free agency. But there's no one that was like Fleming was a guy who he was the highest guy left on my board. But if you're talking about how do you develop guys, like, again, you take the best talent, you don't worry about the fit. But like him and Murray-Boyles would kind of occupy a similar, you know, how are you developing them? Where are they on the depth chart kind of play? So there are a few, but they're harder to find fits. I think Kalkbrenner is the obvious one where, you know, there are NBA skills there. There are skills that if you liked Brandon Carlson, NBA champion, you know, this is a younger and better version of that. I don't know. I think Kalkbrenner's probably the guy at this point. There are a few other guys that like longer term, like Adu Thero, I think is a nice piece. Don't think there's a path to him like Noah Penda, same kind of thing. Like I don't think there's a path to them being meaningful this coming year, but guys who I think, 2-3 years down the line, could you turn them into something? Could you stash them even? Noah Penda just went off the board. So forget Noah Penda. But we'll say Adu Thiero is another one there. But yeah, I think Kalkbrenner, if you're looking at the Raptors' current roster and what makes sense, maybe makes some sense. Do you like Kalkbrenner?
Yeah, fine enough. I think he's an NBA player, which if
Yeah.
you can get an NBA player in the second, you just go for it, I think is what you would do. Noah Penda, Zion James, and I guess like Adu Thiero, there's some stuff there where if the Raptors didn't go CMB at number 9, I wondered if they take a flyer on that type of guy. But that is that type of guy. And, they're obviously going to give Mobo some run this year too, and he's going to get opportunity. But I do wonder if they're looking at something different, or as you said, like there's definitely a possibility that they trade out of it.
Yeah, and there's been pretty interesting price tags on the second round trades today. Like a lot of it is, I don't know at 39 if you have the same leverage that 32 and 36 gets, but it looks like 32 just went for 4 second round picks. So I don't know if that's the market, if it's even 2 future second round picks at 39, I'd be pretty interested in that. It's also, I should say, the Raptors do such a good job like getting their guy undrafted too. Like if Ryan Nemhard's there undrafted, I'm like big circles. I guess that's another guy I like as well that I should mention, but that might be a little bit of CanCon homerism there.
Yeah. Would you be surprised if he went to the Pacers and they just try and double up on the Nemhard of it all?
Nah, why not? And like at that point in the draft, like if a guy is a two-way or spends the bulk of the season in the G League, they're going to need extra guards with Tyrese down for the season. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, sometimes the brother stuff actually does work out like fairly well, but a lot of
Mo, yeah,
Bronze and Mo, and then but also, you know what? There usually is like a dominant brother. Like the Morris twins were close, you know what I mean?
And the Morris twins passed each other.
Yes,
they went the other way. It's really weird. Like Markieff was the best one for a long time, and then Marcus ended up, I think, having the higher ceiling.
Yeah. And well, that's the thing too, is like, could you conceive that Ryan would be better than Andrew? Probably not. So, by the transitive property, we're looking at Coco in chat brings up Asar and Amin Thompson. That's some good twins.
If I could wave a magic wand and do anything in the NBA, I want them against each other in the dunk contest next year so bad.
Yeah. Oh, the Sedin twins is a good reference as well. Yeah.
Hell
yeah, for the Sedins. Okay. While the Raptors kind of get caught up, Noah Penda went to the Celtics, obviously. What Blake and I are going to talk about is the Raptors' money situation. If you see people pretending to be experts on the cap, they probably read a Blake Murphy piece. Blake always does his due diligence, has a wonderful understanding of the cap and the CBA, all that stuff. So there's been questions. The most obvious one is like, do the Raptors have the MLE? What kind of money do they have to move? What does it look like? So let's talk money a little bit.
Yeah. So there are 14 players under contract right now, and that's not including the two ways. And they total 188 million. So even if and this is including CMB at the rookie scale for number 9. So that's pretty tight already. You're already right up against the tax. Now you can do some stuff. You could cut Colin Castleton or AJ Lawson. And so when you're talking cap stuff, one of the benefits to having a second round pick is your second round pick actually costs less as a cap hit than if you sign a free agent somewhere else. If you sign a free agent, even a rookie guy, they count as the 2-year minimum for the purposes of tax and apron calculations. If it's your own second round pick, you get them at the rookie minimum. Now, Jamal Shed and Jonathan Mobo got like elevated contracts last year, so they're a little different. But let's say you take Kalkbrenner and you give him a 2-year minimum contract. That counts as about $1 million less than, say, Colin Castleton, which maybe you don't care that much about. But where this really matters is I don't care that much about the tax because you have until game 82 to get under the tax. You can do a trade at the deadline. They're pretty tight to it. But what really matters, and forgive me for getting in the weeds here because this is a little confusing, but the Raptors are also very close to the apron. So even though the apron and the luxury tax are about $8 million apart, the Raptors are really, really close to both. And the reason for that is that RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Jakob Poeltl all have significant what are called unlikely incentives. So they're incentives they didn't reach last year, so we assume they will not reach them this year. For the purposes of the salary cap, they don't matter. They don't count until you achieve them. In Jakob's case, if he got traded to, say, I don't know, Boston, his would count because Boston made the playoffs last year, whatever the bonuses are. But RJ's are all individual, so RJ's are all unlikely. Emmanuel Quickly's are a mix. The way unlikely bonuses work is no matter what, they count against the apron. So the Raptors have $6.5 million that we don't care about for the cap. We don't really care about for the luxury tax because we deal with it later if it looks like RJ's going to make all NBA third team or something like that, or Quickly's going to make, all defense second team and the team's going to make a playoff run. Deal with that later. But for the purposes of triggering the apron, and we all know that if you hit the apron, there's a bunch of roster building restrictions. That's where it gets pretty tough pretty quickly. So the Raptors will have to be careful about that. If you trigger that, if you go over the first apron, you trigger some of these other things. So right now, the way it sits is I don't think they'll be using the full mid-level. Even to use the mini mid-level, like if they're going to sign anyone other than at minimum contracts, I think they have to make a trade to be able to do that comfortably. Now, whether that's the RJ scenarios everyone's kicked around, whether it's finding a home for Ochai Agbaji, and, we all like Ochai Agbaji. He improved a ton last year. But if you could turn that, what is it, $6.4 million into, a pick that you can kind of reset the rookie scale on next year or something like that, I think they would explore that. So anyway, all that to say, a lot of guys signed already, very, very close to the tax, and they're in a weird position where they're really close to the apron, even though they're only, proximally close to the tax. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. But also now I'm goading you into trade talk.
Yeah.
I have to ask
6.4 million, by the way. I just double checked my sheet. 6.4 million is like the extra they have under the apron, like the extra unlikely bonuses.
Yeah. So if it's tough to sign guys who aren't minimum players, if it's tough to maneuver, what do you think is realistic? Obviously, the RJ stuff has been kicked around probably. Well, once the guy gets kicked around as like this guy might be available, then I think, on the edges, insiders and aggregators and everyone kind of just takes license to like include that guy no matter what, because it's kind of safe. Nobody's going to call you out on it. Where do you feel like they go? Do you have any sense?
Are you referring to like AI aggregator? What are you talking
Oh,
about?
Jesus, man.
No, I don't have a sense of it necessarily. To me, it's always like, if you go back and read the first thing I wrote about, your boy Sion James just went number 33 to Charlotte.
That was a big one for Trey. He liked him.
Nice. I had to double check with the league how to pronounce his name, because when I was watching film on him, Sion and Sion were all over the place.
Oh, I said Sion.
It's Sion according to the league. There were like 6 different Yegor Demon pronunciations.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to, the league ended up putting out a pronunciation guide. What was I saying? Oh, RJ. So yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things. You go back as far as the Ingram trade, and I kind of laid out the cap sheet already. And I feel bad sometimes because it's not an RJ thing. It's like, it's not people don't like RJ. RJ didn't improve a lot last year. It's what does the rest of the roster look like? What does the cap sheet look like? Who could you lose and actually has value for other teams? Like, I think the toxic contract talk is way in the past, especially with only 2 years left. So it's kind of a compliment and a dig at the same time that everyone's willing to put him in a trade. But that also implies that like a lot of other teams would have some interest in him. So I think, when the Cam Johnson thing got kicked around, for example, whatever you think of those two guys as, players compared to each other, it would save the Raptors a few $1 million. That maybe opens up that small mid-level. And that's why you get into, well, maybe the Raptors would have traded down in that trade scenario. A little harder to see post-draft because usually you need draft sweetener in there. So I've started looking at like, what teams would have space to take on Ochai Agbaji and a willingness to do so for maybe, like, we're not talking like an unprotected first or anything like that, but some asset to recoup. Because again, that's 6.4 million. That gives you a little breathing room. But the RJ stuff, I don't know. What's your sense on it? Because like something will have to give with their kind of big 5 eventually. It just doesn't have to happen like right this second.
My sense is that, of course, I have like places. If RJ's going, I like RJ a lot, but as I've been saying for quite a while, like it seems like the Raptors don't have designs on him as a main fixture of the team. I don't think they've really like signaled that or behaved that way. And when his name pops up in rumors, I believe that he's discussed. I also believe that Emmanuel Quickly has been discussed as well. If I were trying to do an RJ thing, I think Devin Vassell is a really interesting player. Maybe the Spurs, something there. I think Devin Vassell gets cheaper over the next couple of years because they matched up his contract to dip the first year of Wemby's max contract. I think it's almost like borderline descending. There's some interesting
That's
stuff
smart
there.
on their part.
Yeah.
And it dips for, well, it dips and then comes back up.
But it's flat. Like it's cheaper than
27, 27, 25, 27.
Do you think that would be probably cheaper? Like RJ will probably sign for more than that the next time he comes up.
I
More
would
than
think so.
25, 27. Yeah, I think so too.
I would think so. You'd have to sweeten that pretty good with picks though, right? To get Vassell for RJ.
I wonder about that because RJ is he's pretty durable, and RJ actually I think would fit quite well in the Spurs. I was talking to Josh about this while we were
I
climbing,
agree with the fit.
Yeah. I think if we're just trying to craft it, but honestly, like I don't know what the interest RJ's a very unique player.
Mm-hmm.
And he's good at stuff in the NBA, which matters. And he can take usage and he can help offload some of the pressure
he's
on
awesome. Like, to use a baseball comp, like he's a bulk innings eater, right?
Yeah. He's really fun for that. So I don't know. And also there's upside there. He's still pretty young. He's gotten a lot of usage, so maybe less than some other players. But I don't know exactly. Devin, I don't think he's perceived quite as well as what he used to be. I think he got a little bit too much of the Mikal Bridges to his game, and it softened things. I also really liked kicking around the Ochai and Kispert situation. I really wondered about that, but that's kind of what I was sitting on. But I think the Raptors are just, if anything, we've seen they're opportunistic, and the Ingram trade I think signals that more than anything.
The
Obviously,
the Kispert one is tough for me because that's adding salary then at that point, right? Like he makes, I think, double what Ochai makes.
What's his cap hold? Because Ochai is going to sign for something, but
and Ochai, like you can extend him and it kicks in next year. But Kispert's at like just under 14 a year.
Yeah, and for a little
so
while
you would have to either then you're a tax team this year no matter what, or you got to make a subsequent someone put Malik Monk in the chat, and that's an RJ thing I've seen Raptors fans kick around a lot too. Long-time future Raptor Malik Monk.
Yeah, the Raptors, I mean, he is on a great contract, Malik Monk, and he rocks. He can do a lot of stuff. I think he would fit extremely well in the Raptors offense. But yeah, the Raptors, they were like, we don't want Malik Monk at $4 million. We want him at 18 because he was definitely gettable. However many years ago, 3 or 4, whatever it was.
Well, but I think I've shared this before, but there was before LaMelo Ball got hurt that year, the Norman Powell for Gary Trent trade. They had at least like engaged on the Malik Monk possibility. Kalkbrenner's off the board, by the way, 34 to the Hornets.
There you go.
Hornets taking the chat's guys back to back. What the hell?
That's so the Hornets. They picked Con Knipple. They picked Kalkbrenner. They picked another white guy, didn't they?
Sion James.
Oh, they did take Sion James. I thought, they didn't have another first rounder. They went back to, okay. How do you feel about that for the Hornets?
I mean, that's not bad. I like Con Knipple, man. He was a guy. I don't know how much you dug in on him because once Raptors fell to 9, I was kind of like Knipple and Edgecombe. Like I don't need to do the work anymore. But Knipple is a guy that I didn't appreciate how good the passing is until I really dug in. I think he's a fun fit with LaMelo.
Well, that was when I was watching Cooper. It's just Con was showing up everywhere. When I was watching Mal Watch, Con was showing up everywhere. Yeah. And obviously I didn't get to watch Cooper for that long because the Raptors were out of it before anything happened. But as far as Con, like I saw him like snake a pick and roll to his left hand and throw a live lefty lob. And I was like, whoa, what the hell am I seeing here? He also, here's an interesting question. Do you think Con is a better prospect coming out of the draft than Grady was? I think yes.
Yeah. I think the defensive floor is a little higher as well. His path to being passable defensively.
He's thicker.
Yeah, he's thick. I think he's a little tougher, for lack of a better word. Like, I don't mean Grady's like doesn't want it. There's just like there's a
Yeah, Blake
physicality
Murphy
to
of the
it.
Raptors show.
Yeah, there's like a physicality to it. I think the passings. I know Grady does some cool stuff. Once attacking closeouts and stuff like that, making reads. But I think Khan's pretty advanced as far as secondary playmaking reads and stuff like that at the same. So the shooting's comparable though.
Mm-hmm. How about Reed Shepherd? We're killing time, Blake.
Yeah.
We're comparing white boys.
I like Reed Shepherd, man. That was the Rockets 9-man rotation. I was kicking around with Wolfond over text actually, and I had him in there, and he's like, "What about Aaron Holiday?" I'm like, "Nah, it's Reed Shepherd time." Yeah, Reed Shepherd's nice. I'm excited to see him get more playing time. The Rockets' top 9 or so is. Did they have a pick yesterday, or they didn't? They traded away, right?
Well, they traded out of it because
Yeah,
I was
that's right.
thinking, the Suns.
Right.
Yeah. Because I was actually thinking, I was like, well, Colin Murray-Boyles. I didn't think that the Raptors were going to take CMB, and then all of a sudden there he was. But
Yeah.
I was like, man, could you imagine lining up against Tari Eason, Amen Thompson, and Colin Murray-Boyles? Like, what kind of hellish life that would be?
Yeah.
Man. But
yeah, that was the Malawatch pick. Thank you, chat, for reminding me of that.
Yep.
Actually, I got one for you. So there was the other trade too, where New Orleans got an extra guy. What did they end up with? Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fierce, which is like a nice haul, but trading an unprotected pick to move up 10 spots. Like, if that was on the table for number 9, would you have done that? So 23 and the unprotected 2026 first.
No, I don't think so.
No,
because I really like for me, it was like the top 15, 16 guys, like actually probably like top 13 guys in this class. I was like, that feels like where it might fall off.
Yeah.
And I said this train, I kicked this around. I was like, because it's on the Raptors table, there was obviously a guy I really liked in CMB, so it makes sense for me to say no. But if I'm the Raptors and I chose CMB, they got approached for trades and obviously turned all of them down. But it's just really important to get your guy.
Yeah.
Like that, like forget all the little, cap and pick pervert stuff. Like sometimes just get like a really good player.
You trying to say I only wanted to trade down to lessen the cap hit?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, losing the lottery was good.
Yeah. Presti winning a championship was done unbelievable damage. Thank God Ainge and the Jazz have been walling away.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So like if they had done that, they would have picked 23rd. So Asa Newell went there. Neek Clifford is the guy that was still on the board. That obviously you can't know if you trade 9 that Neek Clifford will be there, but he's the only guy really that once they got to that point, and then like imagine he goes off the board at 22 before you have that pick. There was Neek Clifford was kind of the last guy on the board I would have liked with a mid first round pick if they had traded down.
So CMB, Bryant, Neek, Coward, Asenge, all those guys kind of rose a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those were guys you really liked. What did you think of Cedric Coward going at 11?
Yeah, I mean that was one where like if you liked him for the Raptors, and I get it, like I'm always a little worried with the after season guys with helium, because like some of it is workouts and interviews are important, the combine's important, and then some of it is probably like people don't actually watch that much game stuff during the season, so it's interesting. So you have to dig in on that. And like Carter Bryant, I get, right? Like if you only looked at the stat line, if you didn't see Zona that much, there's no way he would pop. He just couldn't. And then you watch the film and it's like, oh my God, of course I get it. And then shocker where he lands, right? Like one of the smartest organizations scoops him up. The him going as high as 11, like when it got kicked around, not publicly, because I don't think the Raptors were like in on it. But when you talked about him at 9, then I'm like, okay, that you should trade down, because I didn't think the helium would get that high. I didn't think I love David Thorpe. I didn't think he had that much influence in front offices, but I like Coward. I just 11 was higher than I would have expected him to go. Portland's a team though that they're very much of the same mind as you of just get your guy.
Yeah, David's guys, I mean, he has a handful of guys who are they're very good around the league. And, I don't know what that tie-in is, but when I watched Cedric Coward play, mind you, it was like with the Sky East Conference.
Also,
It's
sorry, I said Portland, but I forgot they traded that to Memphis, which is
yeah.
even more. That's all our draft Twitter boys in Memphis and Houston. So
Dude, they took all my best podcast guests, man.
why
Oh,
you're just left with me.
yeah. I miss Hank dearly. He had such a cool man. He was yeah, anyway. Okay, so we're on pick. The pick is in for Philly at 35.
Janai Broom, yeah.
Okay. Broom. It's Janai? I've been
Yeah.
reading it as Johnny.
No, that's Janai.
Wow. They've been throwing me curveballs, but
Yeah.
also to go back to the Cedric Howard thing. Cedric Howard, his tape is awesome. Like
Yeah.
the I can't remember what the conference is, Sky West or Sky East or whatever the hell. But you go look and he's just incredibly dominant. Then you have to try and like pull yourself back. Like, okay, this just isn't the same. This isn't the same. But he looks awesome. His movement patterns, they look similar to a lot of like really high level scorers. The jumper seems like very much there. He has really good measurements. Cedric Howard, he was very interesting to me.
It's how much do you, when you, obviously we all have our opinions on guys as we prep for it and stuff like that, but when you see which organizations draft a guy, does that do anything for you? Like when you see Coward went to Memphis, or like Sorber was a guy that I really like and OKC gets him. Asenge was a guy that I liked more than you, and then the Bulls get him, and I'm like, no, I'm an idiot. I must be wrong if the Bulls want Asenge. How much does where they actually land like kind of not inform, but like how useful context is that for you?
I think it doesn't matter, save for like 2 or 3 teams where
Okay.
I kind of think like, I asked this I've just been asking this, like, does the Raptors picking CMB make you feel better about him as a prospect? I guess I'll pitch that to you.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I think like I was pretty high on him already. Yeah, I mean, and we know like his biggest weakness is one the Raptors have like a bunch of times said we can fix him. So I think I made the joke that like if this were like 2018 to 2022, I would have bet everything I had that CMB was the pick, which is not a lot, but Brody's back there somewhere. He would have been like in the pot with all the chips. I just, it was I thought Malawach would be higher than him, but no, this doesn't it doesn't change it a ton for me there. I think if it would have moved the needle for me of like, where did we start getting into? I don't think anything in the top, like, I don't think anything 4 through 8 really would have changed my mind that much because it's a lot of bad teams in there and a lot of new front offices. So there wouldn't have been a lot to inform it there. Yeah. So I don't think it moved it a bunch for me.
Yeah. They obviously they brought Asenge in the day before. They're like, it's Samson's guy versus Blake's guy.
Yeah.
We'll see who wins out.
To be clear, I didn't CMB was on the list of guys I texted you, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So for anyone who doesn't, Samson and I traded a list of guys. I think it was 6 guys. Like, who do you think you like more than like the draft Twitter or industry consensus? And we both had CMB on it. I just it was a little bit of I don't know about for the Raptors, but I like him a lot.
Well, CMB was the first name you put on your list.
They were not in any particular order. They were just like as I thought of it. I would love to be like, yeah, CMB was number 1 on my list that I sent you, but it's not true.
So I had 2 big swings. I had CMB, Bryant, Coward, Traore, who fell.
Yeah.
Fell 19. He was considered top 5 at the start of he didn't have the year people thought he wanted to. And then I had the inverse. Fleming, who I thought might go 16. Yang, who I thought might go 31. Those guys flip-flopped. Yeah. But I was asking around. I was as many contacts as I have in the NBA. I was like, do you guys like Hanson Yang? By the way, did you see his t-shirt?
Yeah. Handsome Young. Yeah.
That's an incredible indicator of just how great he might end up being.
Yeah, that's almost he had the second best week with that kind of stuff behind Wemby.
Yeah. Yeah, Wemby was hi, I'm Vic.
The dream is over.
Oh, Thero went?
Yeah, to the Lakers traded up to get him.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's too bad. We're running out of name recognition here.
Yeah, we're going to be Control F is at the ready here. pretty quickly. Okay, well, Nemhard's still there. At least
Yeah.
they've got the safe one with Nemhard. With respect to Traore, the fact that he went to Brooklyn and Brooklyn had, I mean, they had all those picks, but
They had a
I
nuts
didn't like
draft.
I didn't love their picks.
They
What'd you make of it? Like what their actual final haul was?
well, but they drafted all 5. Yegor, I thought, because again, it is really easy to see the upside of Yegor if things turn and pop. It's like the framework is there. It just seems quite sparse within, and I certainly wouldn't have gone Yegor at 8.
That
I
and
thought,
like you can't really trade down if you're them because you already have 5 picks.
yeah. So you can't trade down.
Yeah.
Obviously, the teams ahead of them liked guys, so they probably couldn't package and trade up.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then
But
what?
like
So they go Yegor, Traore, Serif, Wolf,
and Drake Powell was the other one.
Drake Powell. Drake Powell, I'm pretty interested to see because he's such a great athlete.
Yes. He also, for whatever reason, live during the draft, I didn't scratch him off my list. So he was like top of my list. It was Fleming and Powell today. And I was like, cool. And then I was like, then I had to go back over and I had missed him. But yeah, not a big Seraph guy. Danny Wolf, whatever. There's the non-basketball stuff that I'm not the world's biggest fan of. Traore's cool. But yeah, Demon just like 8 felt early, man.
It did. When we were doing it, when Demon got drafted, we literally started celebrating. And then there was that tweet. I don't know who says these things. I don't know where this is honestly a little bit irresponsible of me to repeat this. But when people on the broadcast, there's like tweets or, newsbreakers are like, other teams were laughing at the Nets when they selected Demon. I'm like, who is the source on this? Because this is pretty
some
wild.
Front office is like texting Shams like this, like just look at here's our whole draft room laughing.
Yeah, exactly.
All my front office are out on the town having the time of our lives. They're just at a frame.
The video of by the way, I just finished the rehearsal season 2. He has made so many good shows, so many great hours of television from Mr. Nathan Fielder. Oh my days.
Yes. Man. Maybe that's what the Nets were doing. They were like, we're gonna rehearse 4 picks and then we'll nail our 5th pick.
Yeah.
And Cosmo in the chat asked if Jay Billis was on the Rosillo podcast and said Danny Wolf's mom thought he was going to the Raptors at 9. At least from what I've been able to put together, and it's full disclosure, it's very, very early in terms of like being able to put together any kind of reporting on this stuff. He was not a name that I heard like at least in the like final mix. So I don't know, maybe they liked him, but I'm fairly certain it came down to CMB and Malawatch.
Well, the only time I really heard about Wolf was like somebody does like this guy's interesting Twitter thread, and then there'd be people in chat during stuff and during podcasts, and I'd be like, I'd just push it off. I'd be like, I don't know, if he gets picked, then we'll discuss it. But Detroit picked Chaz Lanier. I've said everything wrong, man.
It reminds me so much of I went on Catherine's Buckets and Tea after the second round last year, and I mispronounced Mobo. I like that because you know how it's like kind of a soft G at the like it's not Mobo, it's not Mogbo, it's Mogbo. So yeah, I feel for you.
This is like the funny thing. Because again, this is a funny little thing to point out, but like way back when you were doing draft coverage during the 2023 draft, you brought me on Blue Jays Talk Plus or Jays Talk Plus, and I was like, I'd love if they got Grady. Then they picked Grady. Then I had a tweet last year when they had 31 and there was the day, and I was like, in the second round, I think that we're looking at one of Mobo or Shamshay, and then they got both. And then this year, I'm hyping up CMB, and it's like CMB gets drafted. And I saw someone say like Samson's remaining reputation is staked on whether CMB is a good player. And I just need to say, I like doing this. I do my best at it. I am not a draft analyst, man. I don't know any of these guys' names.
The other thing is, I remember, I forget what year it was, maybe 2016. Michael Benije, whose name starts with a GBIJ. It's like there's no phonetic way to do it. And I mispronounced his name on a draft pod, and someone was really mad. And I was like, when I fire up Synergy and watch stuff, I don't have the sound on. I don't like care what the broadcast is saying. A lot of Synergy stuff doesn't always even have sound. So if anyone is like, you didn't check this guy out, I'm like, maybe you missed like the NCAA tournament game or whatever, but I'm not a sound on guy. I'm a music on guy if I'm watching Synergy.
So, and well, even sometimes they get it wrong.
Well, this is the thing with Yegor Demin, right? Is like Igor, Demin. There was a lot of pronunciations over the course of the NCAA season for him.
I had to watch his Real Madrid tape to get to the Yegor, and then I was like, well, that must be it then.
Yeah, and like even there was the way because Asenge was another guy who there were a bunch, and then like he just had a like, hey, I'm Noah Asenge, come along with me for a day or whatever. I'm like, everyone should do this. Everyone should just like, it's like if anyone in our industry does a reel, I think I gave S this advice one time, like open your reel with like a clip of you introducing yourself so everyone knows how to say Esfandiar, right out of the gate. That's what every prospect should do.
Yeah. So I'll say this. So not a draft analyst, also endorses every player the Raptors select a week to a month before they pick them. I'm not a draft analyst. I can't help that Bobby and Masai watch my podcast feverishly. This is I simply can't help it. This is the problem that Caitlin and I ran into. Everybody's watching it. This is the problem. It is what it is.
Have you pitched to Tyrese yet that while he recovers, me and him just do a wrestling show as part of the Basketball She Wrote network?
Well, did you see that he was like, no, I try not to pay attention to that kind of stuff. Yes,
other than I turn it on to look at my. It's like when people ask me if I use Reddit or if I like lurk on Raptors Reddit, I'm like, not unless someone like alerts me to something that I need to go check out. I only use Reddit for my wrestling news. That's it.
I'll see a leg will send something, he'll just be like, and I'll be like, Jesus, man, Reddit will be, although there was a really nice thread about Pascal and I when he was, but I also got to talk to Pascal a little bit more after that, which was nice.
After the presser?
After the presser, yeah. And so,
nice.
But man, that was cool. The finals, how much fun did you have when you covered the finals, man? Like in Toronto, I bet that was such a blast.
Well, like I texted you during it too, that like, like you kind of have to, like, obviously it's work and you need to take the work seriously and stuff. There are moments that I look back, I'm like, man, I should just have more fun with it. Like I could have, like, I wrote like, I think 4 things the night of the final game and like didn't sleep and stuff like that. Which is also cool too. But yeah, I don't know, man. There were so many memories from it. I'm really glad you got to do that. Everyone in the chat saying Raptors, like, who went 38?
Cam Jones to the Pacers.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I was poking around talking to Pacers people, and then I was like not surprised that they traded out. But then they traded back in, and I was like, okay, I wonder if somebody emerged. Cam Jones, do you have any? Oh, I got a message from Josh. He says Cam Jones is solid for Indy. Okay.
All right.
There we go. So we'll trust Josh on that one. He's always been tapped into the Joneses.
Nice.
Reynaud watch, I guess.
Yeah, Reynaud. I don't know if I mean he's nominative determinism here. Javon Small is still out there. I think that's a guy that I liked. Who else?
Reynaud is the French Wemby is really funny. That's
French Wemby.
Yeah.
What is it? Bogolub.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. I actually don't know if you're saying that right, but
I went to the draft thing to the pronunciation. Bogolub Markovic.
We're in like real Jameer Watkins hours, maybe, right?
Yeah,
that could be possible.
Yeah,
we're already at the point though where I'm gonna have to basically hope that whoever the Raptors pick, I'm pulling up their stats and just seeing if by osmosis of watching other players, I've seen this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or like if they draft the international guy, we just chunk it. It's like, stash him. I don't know. We'll learn about him next year.
Yeah. Cody is coming on the podcast after the selection, after you and I talk about it. Hopefully, Cody has definitely been churning through and discussing a lot of guys, so I hope he can also save my ass a little
Cody
bit as
Wiles,
well. Cody Wiles, yes.
nice.
Um,
He was trying to DM me for the intel yesterday.
oh, really?
I didn't see it, so I had because I had, in addition to the draft, I had the J show and I did Bunkus' show yesterday,
Mhm.
so I missed like a bunch of DMs throughout the day. So I gave him a hard time about it this morning.
Cam Jones looks pretty cool. The mustache and the glasses, the whole deal. Okay, we got
Yep.
3 minutes till the pick for the Raptors.
Yeah.
Do you have any predictions? Do you want to put anything on tape?
Nah, I think unless I'm missing someone, Javon Small is the top guy left on my list, but Nemhard's in the mix there too. I like Reynaud. Yeah, I know people are saying they need a center. Like, I don't think anyone left right now is like playing real center minutes for you this year. Like certainly get someone in the pipeline to start getting 905 reps, and maybe they're playing backup minutes in a pinch next year. But I don't think anyone that's left at this point is a guy you're penciling for many minutes next year. That's probably fair to say, right?
I think so too. But again, I'm not super familiar with all the because again, I covered like a big chunk of the Raptors guys at 9, and then I went off to cover a finals run basically, and then so I've been pretty out of the loop. Man, I guess that's Shamshay. Does anybody here interest you like on Jay Billis's list? Reynaud is number 1, but does
Okay.
anybody interest you here more than Shamshay currently interests you?
Like, as far as centers go,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't mind putting Reynaud, in the development pipeline next to him necessarily.
Mhm.
And I think that, like, Shamshay, he certainly does not have power forward skill yet, but I think he's going to be versatile enough defensively that you could, work around. Like, he played a tiny bit of power forward last year. I'm gonna say no. I know that's like someone might end up being better than him, but by the time he got hurt, I was really starting to dig Shamshay's defense. He's still a ways away, but big paws on a puppy.
Yeah, exactly. And man, a lot of the away that he is starting to become just about like implementation of himself and then like the offensive skill set, but the hands were getting a little bit better. The movement around the court was just so strong. I probably not even Maxime. I would be like, I view him the same as Shamshay more or less, but I guess we'll see, man. What do
Yeah,
you
Reynaud, just like I know he's big, but there's not, if I'm remembering right, there's not like a ton that, like, he's not a sure thing defensively, right?
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the thing with Malwatch that I was like, I'm not sure if he's a sure thing defensively because I didn't love the feet.
Elijah Martin.
Elijah Martin. Okay. Elijah Martin. Are you looking him up? Are we both looking him
I'm
up?
just getting a tweet off.
Okay. Let me pull up Elijah Martin's stats so everybody we can read them off and we can learn. I'm learning with everybody. So Florida Gators.
Yeah, smaller guard. I mean, we all saw a lot of them during the tournament, right? Matt Bonner will be
Yeah.
happy about this.
So obviously played a bunch in the tournament, 14.4 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 45% from the field, 35% from downtown, 76% from the free throw line. Fairly low turnover, but not a lot of, I guess, like passing creation from a guard. Obviously, that existed elsewhere on the Gators roster as they made their run. Elijah Martin, first blush, Blake, how you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, look, if we look at the history of Raptors in the second round, what is the one like unifying thread? It's they like guys who win, and they like guys who come from winning programs. That's the type of guy that they've had a lot of success with. Whether it's Shed, I know Norm Powell wasn't like a winning program guy necessarily, but they like this kind of guy. So yeah, that works. I mean, those Florida teams were really fun. He was not the A1 guy that popped for me on those teams because obviously Walter Clayton Jr. was just absolutely insane. And then he's like, I don't know, he's a little small and he's a little old, but this is the number 39 pick. This is what's there. He checks another box that the Raptors like when it comes to like the older second round or undrafted guys, which is went to a lesser school for a couple years and then jumped to a bigger program before they went out the door. I think Jamison Battle went the opposite way. No, Jameson Battle went that way too. Anyway, there are a couple
Mhm.
guys that did that. So check some boxes there. I'll be really curious to see and hear how he shot it in workouts, because I think that's obviously, if you're a 6'1" guard, that's and you're not like a pass first natural guard. That's the biggest thing is, are you going to be able to shoot it? Are you going to be able to get some range to make up for the 6'1" stuff?
His build reminds me a lot of like Davion. Watching him on the floor, I thought it was
Yeah.
like he's not as rapid as Davion is. Davion is such a special athlete as far as like being quick
Yeah.
to the spot. But man, I guess like there's some osmosis here of, you play next to Mr. Clayton, maybe you play next to Mr. Quickly, maybe there's like a little something there. I'm not really sure,
It
but
is like him and Shed are an interesting comp too,
yeah,
right? Like not just for the coming from winning programs, but like he's like he I just checked the combine. He was 208. So like 6'1", 208 is like that's a running back, man. That's a
yeah,
thick dude. I if I'm remembering right, Florida had him guard the best guy on the other team a lot of the
yeah.
time, or the best perimeter guy on the other team a lot of the time. So yeah, makes sense to me as a Raptor guy, as a bench flyer. Him and Jamal Shed get all right, compete, boys. This is be a fun competition.
Well, that's the thing too, is like you can't you can't watch these Raptors as they win 30 games. And I know everyone's saying like, but what about Shed? People are not as high on Mobo after his first year, obviously. But what about Mobo stuff with CMB? People did it after we drafted Jacoby. Is what about Grady? It's like the Raptors, you only have so many roster spots. You get 2 new guys every year, guaranteed. It can be more, it can be less. I mean, they got 4 last year, right? Um, it's guys, it's good to have the competition. And
Yeah.
it's not bad for the Raptors. Like Jamal Shed, I don't think is and again, I'm lower on Shed than I think the consensus. I still really like Jamal Shed, but I'm lower on him than consensus. And he's not a guaranteed like this guy's your backup or is a guard on an NBA team forever. And Elijah Martin, if they like him and they think he can come in, Phoenix Plays E just said in chat, survival of the fittest. I love Grady as a prospect. He hasn't
Yeah.
panned out everywhere that I thought. If Jacoby busts Grady's ass and it's no longer Grady's spot, then that the game is the game. Like that's why it's guaranteed contracts. That's why, you don't have to feel bad for these guys. Like if Jacoby makes Grady obsolete on the roster, Grady still gets paid and still gets to carve out his career. If the same thing happens with Elijah and Shed or whoever,
Yeah,
I
it's one of those things. Like the how many games the Raptors end up winning last year? 33. The problem is not
would,
going to be they have too many good players. That's not it's not going to be the problem. It's like guys compete, and yeah, like developmentally, you it's not like the first year is the only year you can go to the G League either, right? Like DeLon was going to the G League in the second year. Stuff happens. Yeah, 33 while trying to tank. I get that. But like too many good players, I don't think is going to be the issue. And like even Shed, like you kind of said it there, like I was really impressed by him. Obviously, I like Jamal Shed a lot. I did the big feature on him at the start of the season. If you look like kind of at some of the under the hood stats, it was what you'd expect for the rookies. All the Raptors rookies were so fun, and not a single one of them was like even league average efficiency, right? So some of these guys are going to get way better and continue to grow. Some of them are maybe not. Some of them are going to thrive off the competition. And then even if they're all good, like there was a year where Norman Powell was the 11th man for the Raptors when they were healthy. Norman Powell, who has like fought for 6th man awards, who was a borderline all-star this year, who was like the 8th man on a Raptors championship team, was the 11th man in the rotation, I think the year before the championship run.
yeah.
Depth is never a bad thing. Young guys competing and having to earn it is, I don't think, ever a bad thing.
And also like had a relative after year 2 went up. OG gets drafted, goes down again. Pascal emerges, goes down. Like Norm went up, down, and he was just to understand the grind. He improved himself so much over time, but you just keep drafting guys you like. It's so hard to get the perfect draft slot. It's a lot easier to trade. It's a lot easier to trade for guys who are known quantities in the league. Like, that the Pacers are such a good reference point for this because the Pacers basically never re-sign their draftees. A lot of times they end up traded or leaving, like either through a trade, sign and trade, or just leaving. It's only been a couple guys over the past decade that they've actually re-signed. They built a finals team out of trades, basically, almost exclusively. And that's why I'm not worried about the CMB thing when people are like, how does this work here? How does that work there? It's like, if you think CMB is going to be really great in year 4, and like you think at 9 you're drafting a guy who could one day be an all-star or maybe be like that OG Anunoby level of player that's giving you around all-star impact but isn't quite getting selected, then it doesn't really matter. Then you pick that guy and you shape shift the team going into the future. The Raptors did that on the route to the championship as well. Terrence Ross went out the door. Serge Ibaka came in. Jonas Valanciunas got traded the year of the championship. This kind of stuff is like, it's easier to be elastic in the trade market than it is in the draft. Just go get a guy in the draft because it's a smaller pool of players and there's a smaller number of good players. In the trade market, I mean, there's a bunch of good players, and it is what it is,
And here's the other thing too. Like, this is the number 39 pick in a draft that is not necessarily a very good second round draft. Like, I see some people unhappy with Elijah or like on Twitter, people not knowing the fit or whatever. In addition to like,
can I just say something? Yeah. The order of these like chats makes me really happy. So from the same person says Elijah Martin is so ass. And then, is Elijah Martin good? That's like really great.
Yeah. So like, look, he's older, and those type of guys we don't tend to think of as long of a development prospect or whatever. Even if he doesn't have, like, you get 18 spots on a roster. Some of these guys are going to be with the G League and stuff like that. Like, it's also the fit stuff, the overlap. It doesn't have to be figured out like today. You get guys, like you said, you get guys you like. Get 18 guys you like on the roster, and then kind of figure it out on the fly for there. Wow, Jake LaRavia joining the chat.
That was when Trey and I were talking about Jake LaRavia, and I looked at his picture and I was like, oh my God, he looks like Cody. Except Cody, you're like a more handsome version of him. But
I was going to add that caveat as well.
Yeah. Do you know, and the Rough Riders had as well. Do you know anything about Elijah Martin?
Not as much as I would have liked to. He wasn't one of the guys I did a ton of work on. He was one that rose late for me. I went back and watched his tournament games. That's about all I really got of him. Main point is he's a winner. He's a winner. He was part of that FAU team that made that Final Four run a couple years ago before transferring to Florida to win a national championship. And he was impactful. Box plus minus, he was top 40 in the country, but he is small. And I think naturally why he fell was one, he's small and he's not really a point guard. I don't think he has that handling creativity to be a point guard. So I think a lot of the concerns were that at that size, you're more of an off-ball guy, but man, he's a dog. And you can see how the Raptors want to build. They've been preaching physicality, toughness, and that's what Colin Murray Boyles and Elijah Martin are going to provide. So, not a ton of work on him, but he was 66% on close twos. So that's finished decently around the rim as well. 36% career 3-point shooter as well. So, he small 6'7.5" wingspan though, so he makes up for some of that. But he's strong.
That's a crazy differential.
That is, it's a lot, but so that's where it really helps him on the defensive end of the floor. But I think he's a good enough shooter and to stick around, and he's good enough on defense. He's just small, man. He's just small, but we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, we have from Joseph Cassidy says, yo, Cody, great work this draft. Been some good stuff. Excellent point. Yes. This is Cody Wiles, by the way, for anybody listening. He works a few different places, but most importantly for this Raptors Republic, and he and Brendan did a bunch of great work covering the draft. They were doing like a whole pool of players. Trey and I were doing a whole pool of players, and obviously the goal was that we covered. But we didn't get Elijah Martin. He didn't fall under the purview of anybody. While you're here, Cody, I also want to ask you, actually, before we get into this, Blake, now's probably a good time to let you fly off into the sunset now that the Raptors have made
wow, you can't have too many good players on a roster. Wow,
there
unbelievable.
Well,
Cody gets drafted and Blake's out. That's all right. I got to go watch Elijah Martin quarterback footage.
He played quarterback. It's
Apparently,
Jalen
he was all
Suggs.
state.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
this actually, I'll ask you: do you think it's easier for an NBA player to make the NFL or an NFL player to make the NBA on average?
I don't. NFL to. I don't
There's
know.
one correct answer here.
I think it would be easier to go basketball to football. I think.
I think so.
Like
too.
the physicality jump would be really difficult. Like when Ant Edwards said he would like take a safety over the middle. I'm like, not without a lot of practice, but I'm trying to think of like how many NFL guys are like small, like too small for the NBA or something. I think it's the answer, but I don't feel good about it either way.
I watched a video essay on this and it just wasn't close. There's a lot of NBA players that were like all state. And just like there's a lot of NBA players who had significant interest for football careers that they were just like, NBA is more money and safer. But anyway, go ahead, Cody.
I was going to say there's actually a Clemson basketball player, Ian Scheifelen, who's moving over to tight end, 6'8", 240, who
Antonio Gates, one of the greatest tight ends of all time, an okay college basketball player.
Blake, before you get out of here, anything you want to say?
Now, have a good rest of the show, guys. I'll be watching. Cody, you got I see the Vince Carter background in the background. My question for you guys before I depart, and you can discuss. Elijah Martin was on with the big number 15 chain. What does he do about that? He's a big number 15 guy. All right, see you guys.
All right, see you, Blake.
Just gonna drop that and leave. Yeah, I wonder. I'm excited for Elijah. Obviously, like selfishly, I'm excited to cover him down with the 905. I'm assuming he's going to be getting a ton of reps there just simply because I don't think there's going to be the rotation minutes for him. Now, maybe he carves that out because that just seems like the type of guy he is. But yeah, selfishly, I'm excited to talk to him, cover him all year.
Are you going to Vegas at all in any capacity?
No, I wish. One of these days. I'm actually going back to Saskatchewan all of July. So
I was just back in Saskatchewan.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, no, it'll be nice to go home for a little bit, but yeah, one of these days I'm going to Vegas. I that's like a bucket list sort of thing for me. You must be excited, hey?
Yeah, it should be fun. All the fellas are going, which is how we did it in 2023. So, and I'm honestly like, I got to go see Grady, which he wasn't good in summer league. Unfortunately, he didn't do very well. And who was Marquise Noel was the big story for the Raptors summer league team. Yeah, and of course summer league was crazy that year because Wemby was there. Britney Spears was getting arrested, and we had a trip out to the Grand Canyon. It was awesome, man. We had a blast doing it, and we played at the Tarkanian runs. And there was myself, Josh, Trey, and we had a grad assistant from Arizona who was looking to get hired, whose name I don't remember. And then we had another bald guy, and he was excellent. And I remember there was a whole bunch of guys, and we went undefeated. And there was a bunch of YouTubers. There was like a collection of like 1.5 million subscribers of basketball YouTubers.
Oh, wow.
They filmed the runs. It did not see the internet because these boys from Canada ran everyone out of the gym. Anyway,
shameless plug there.
Yeah. Yeah. Elijah Martin. I'm excited to watch more of him because honestly, I didn't see that much. It's literally just watching March Madness, tapping in. Your poll of like he won or he made the Final Four, all this kind of stuff. Excellent work from you. I had none of that in the bag.
Oh, man. But I don't want to come on here and lie, right? I'm not going to come on here and lie and say I'm an Elijah Martin expert, but yeah, I mean, I wonder. I'm really curious to wonder if the guy that we're going to pick here, if they want him to take a two-way, or I think that's kind of the next question. Obviously, Blake broke down all the cap stuff, but them being right up against the tax threshold and the first apron in general with all those unlikely incentives. They got a two-way slot open and they got a roster spot open. So it'll be interesting to see which way they want to go with that because, you know, they've hit on UDFAs. So maybe they want to, we'll see how it turns out. But yeah.
Also the thing is the UDFA, it's just, there's not as much leverage for that anymore. Like a guy like Martin, maybe in years past, you would have been looking at, like, without NIL stuff, just a deeper second round pool. Like a guy like Yaxel Landenberg probably would have went in the first. There's actually like a handful of guys who would have went first round that went back to school. Cedric Coward almost did, right? Like he committed, he was going to the huge school, one of the biggest, and then he said, okay, you know what, let me get into the draft. Went 11, but a lot of guys are just taking that money and being like, okay, the second round and undrafted free agent, that pool is just a lot smaller and it's not as compelling as it used to be. And I think that gives, well, one, the players have more leverage in school and out of school, but also for UDFA or navigating like the two-way player stuff is Elijah probably like has more leverage to be like, nah, like give me the guaranteed. As Blake mentioned, like Shed and Mobo have that elevated second rounder contract. I really wonder what it looks like because there is so much room to negotiate and wiggle with the second round stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like basically the money the guys are getting now are like the 20th pick. Like that's what they're getting paid. So it's like if you're really not a first round lock, like you should be heavily considering going back to school. I think my guess would be he'd be a two-way. He feels like a two-way guy. You know what I mean? Like the smaller, like defensive, pesky guard. But from what I understand, like he's going to make an impact on that end, whatever level he does it on. Again, good comment that Lawson and Castleton are full non-guarantees. I like both though. Like I actually really like Castleton because he showed out in one 905 game. I've fallen in love with him. He was a monster in the one game he played, and
he had a 6-assist game as an NBA player. So that's
I like him. I think he has some offensive skill. I wouldn't be so quick to just be like, yeah, let's get rid of Lawson and Castleton for what I don't know. These are guys they identified and to bring in for camp. I'd be happy if they both stuck around, but I mean, if they feel like somebody in this crop of young guys can take over those minutes, then by all means.
Well, let's take it there then, actually, because there's hardly anybody better to ask than you, considering like you have an understanding of Elijah Martin, the draft, and a really like in-depth understanding of the 905 and those guys. Lawson and Castleton, like let's say there's a big left, I don't know who's left in the draft anymore, but let's say versus a UDFA, Castleton versus that perspective, the field, and Lawson versus his perspective field of like guards and stuff like that. When it comes to camp, do you have a preference?
I think I'd rather keep them. Like we were just talking about the talent decimated. Like I only got a board up to 50 because I was like, man, I don't even know at this point what to do. For what it's worth, I had Ryan Nembhard at 39 and Elijah Martin at 40. If Ryan Nembhard, to me, if he's an argument to be the best point guard in the class, he could be gone already. So I could be speaking completely.
Wait, Ryan Nembhard has an argument as the best point guard in the class?
Yeah. As the best pure point guard.
Yeah. Isolation. I'd love to hear this case. Because I like Ryan, but best point guard in the class, I like that. That's some gumption on that take. I'd like to hear it.
So that's what we're here for, right? Some gumption. All right. Well, first of all, he led the country in assists, almost 10 per game, which is incredible. Near 4-to-1 assist or turnover ratio. Oh man, those are fantastic numbers. And I guess just with the fit with Toronto, like I was fully on board with him coming to Toronto. He's really good in transition. Quick outlet, hit ahead passes. He pushes the tempo. And with Toronto, man, that with all those athletes around him and him just pushing it and letting it go, I would like that. He's a dynamic ball screen passer. Gonzaga, a ball screen continuity offense. So he was really good in those sorts of actions. Just makes every pass in the book to me. One thing I really look for in point guards is how you can manipulate defenders with your eyes and with, it doesn't always have to be no-look passes, but, the way you're able to use angles and create angles for yourself. I think he did a really good job at that. I think he's a great handle. He's comfortable in the middle of the floor, plays off 2 feet consistently, which is something I like, and which is something I like about Colin Murray Boyles. I think he plays off 2 feet, and he's just so powerful off 2 feet. Nembhard shot almost 37% on pull-up threes, which is something you need to be a lead ball handler. Only 1.5 attempts per game, but again, the only problem with him is he's small. He'd be one of the smallest guys in the NBA, 5'11" without shoes, and only a 6'2" wingspan, which is that's pretty brutal. 7'10" standing reach. He's not a wild athlete, but man, he gives a damn. He gets that from Andrew. Like on defense, like he'll take up the space. He'll get up in your face at the point of attack. But again, like small guard, you're going to get attacked defensively. It's just feels like that, like a baseball reference, Blake was yesterday. I think it's like a 4A, quadruple A, something like that.
Oh,
Like
yes. Yeah.
maybe in that middle range, maybe not quite good enough for the NBA, just given your physical, because you got to be special at that size. You know what I mean? And I think he has potential as like a passer and stuff like that, but the pull-up jumper would have to come along. I mean, 44% on catch and shoot threes is something. It was very low volume, but yeah, he's one of my favorites. I kind of fell in love with him, obviously, from Aurora. So I had to, me and Brendan talked about him. We both like him. But yeah, he was. Did he go? I don't think he's gone anywhere yet.
No,
So
I don't think he's
Who
gone.
knows?
He's not gone yet. And I know the Nemhard family was a really big fans of mine and Caitlin's work. So now with you praising Ryan, they can be really big fans of the work over here with the Rapcast as well.
There we go.
The thing is like when guys are that small, there's so many guys who are around like that size who are just unbelievable basketball players. And it's just like, damn, it's tough to make it work at that size. Although Ryan, like your brother's in the NBA, maybe there's something to be said about pedigree and being able to make it work and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Dan says, for those who missed it, Sam Vecini is apparently very high on Elijah and said he had an incredible workout for Toronto on his pod just now. Cool. Sam Vecini, friend of the show. Obviously, every time I have him on here, though, everyone just bugs him about the Scotty Barnes stuff, which I'm just we're entering year 5 at this point.
Come on, yeah. I would say the biggest difference between those two would just be the athleticism. Like Elijah Martin is a really good athlete, both vertically and horizontally. 38-inch max vertical leap, and you can go Google, go YouTube some of Elijah Martin's dunks, man. Like he just explodes off the floor. So I think when you're small like that, the athleticism obviously, is one key thing you can look at to helping you get on the floor. And then obviously he's more of a dog defensively, but and he's not a point guard. They're different players, but yeah.
That was the thing. Here's sources, but like the thing that happened with Davion is that there was that like iron sharpens iron thing that was going on, but Davion and like the younger players on the roster, there was like a bit of he's a bit of an asshole, like, and there wasn't like that much like harmony. And so Davion goes to Heat culture, which is like, we're all assholes here a little bit, you know what I mean? And maybe Elijah Martin is like, once again, you're getting that like gritty, really tough nose. Is it tough nosed? What the hell is it? Hard nosed guard. Bring him back in again. I know like DJ and Jamal talked constantly about how great it was to have Davion in the training camp and like preseason process. I think we'll see. Hopefully Elijah brings something similar, and it would be really interesting if Elijah pops off. Then it's Elijah and Jamal like battling it out. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Elijah is a better shooter coming in. He's a better athlete coming in, but Jamal Shed does more of the point guardy things. And I believe you're a bit lower on Jamal doing sort of those point guardy things anyways. So, I mean, I guess that'd be a good reference point for you when you're going to look into him. I don't want to misrepresent your opinion, but
you're hitting on it. Like Jamal is fine enough point guarding around, but it's really the defense where I've disagreed with the consensus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For why?
Because Jamal wasn't good on defense last year. Like I understand, like he slaps the floor, he's really into, but he wasn't good. Yeah, Yosef in chat says Samson classic Jamal hater. I've been banging this drum for too long, man. Oh
yeah.
Anyway.
No, you're gonna notice Jamal hater. If CMB doesn't turn out, oh man, I think I don't know what's gonna happen, but
I guess that's where we'll finish. Your thoughts on CMB, and we'll go off into the sunset.
Yeah, sure. I really like the pick. I don't know if I was hooting and hollering like you were last night, but
well, it's because I knew I wouldn't have to work as much. I was like, I've already done the work. It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, analytical darling, man. Yeah. Like the third highest
BPA.
Only behind Flag and Broom. His true shooting was through the roof, 63%. Really high usage as well, which like, I mean, I like the offensive fit. He basically does everything good except shoot the ball, man. Like He's just really such a good player. The one thing that stood out to me was people say, "Oh, South Carolina was bad," and he was, a big part of that team. He had a plus 18.3 net rating differential. The team was plus 1.9 net when he was on and minus 16.4 when he was off. I can guarantee you he was not the reason why South Carolina was bad. I can tell you that much. But yeah, obviously super versatile. I know we're trying to get out of here, so I'll summarize it up. But yeah, overall, like the pick. I think he does enough offensively with like some DHO stuff. I think he's going to be effective in that. Obviously, the shot unlocks everything in that. But where would you mock him? As in CMB?
Wait. I clicked on the wrong comment. If he was able to shoot the ball, where would he go in the draft, do you think? Oh, wait.
I can't hear you.
Okay, I'll keep talking. I'll keep talking, and then Cody will sort everything out. But I'll answer this. I think if CMB had like the shooting profile of an average shooting wing, I think he probably could have gone 3 in the draft. That wouldn't have surprised me. And like, oh, there you go. Sev says if CMB could shoot, he'd be guaranteed top 3. Yeah, if he could shoot it. I mean, he could have gone as high as number 2. Because he's if he shoots the ball, I mean, it gets pretty nuts for him. But he doesn't shoot the ball currently. So I guess we'll see what happens with that while Cody sorts this out. But on top of that too, Donkey says Samson is low on IQ and shed compared to most Raptors fans. He will become a Martin hater soon enough. Yeah, this is, by the way, sarcasm. I am a little harsher on point guards who don't do that much point guarding. And I liked Davion, his on-court stuff, better than I think consensus at the time. Everyone, oh God. I remember the video got brigaded. I don't know where it came from, but everyone was busting my ass because I said Davion Mitchell was, an NBA player. and then he had a pretty good finish to the season. What's up?
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't heard a single thing you said.
Yeah, that's
my headphones died, and I hope you're wrapping up.
Yeah,
I can't figure out how to hear you unless I come back. But thanks for having me on. Are you wrapping up? Give me
yeah. I'll wrap up. Yeah. Phoenix Plays E says you were spoiled by Kyle Lowry for a decade. Go follow Cody on Twitter, Cody Wiles. Go keep up with his work and everything like that. Thank you, Cody, for coming on. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe before you get out of here. It helps spread it to other people. Hopefully they enjoy it. Thank you from myself and Cody, and from Blake as well. Thank you for coming on. All right, everybody, whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and goodbye.